As industrial operations become more connected, organizations are making significant security investments to help protect the intellectual property and their operations and their brand. However, we need to understand there are inherent safety implications and security risks that are often overlooked. By integrating safety programs and following some key steps, manufacturers and industrial operators can assess, manage, and mitigate the safety implications of security risk in a modern industrial plant. So thank you all for joining this webinar. We're going to have a discussion around safety through security, and I'm joined by three product managers from NHP. Guys, please introduce yourselves.
Thanks, Adash. Nice to be here. My name's Jack Wheatley, and I'm our Machine Safety Product Manager.
Hello everyone, I'm Johan Barona. I'm the Pro Manager for Automation and Networking here in NHP.
Hi all, great to be here. Thanks for introducing us, Adash. My name's Kasim. I'm a Product Manager for Drives, Motion and ICM, part of the Automation team alongside Johan and Jack.
And my name is Adash Emmanuel, and I'm the Channel Marketing Manager here at NHP. So I'll be leading this conversation today. So guys, let's jump into it. Connectivity brings opportunity and risks. What does that mean for our industrial operations manufacturers?
Okay, Adash, I'm gonna get that one. As we know, a connected enterprise connects people, processes, and things. And with the advent of a lot of these Internet of Things, where millions or thousands of sensors are connected equipment are in the shop floor, that have been bringing a lot of information and getting together the administrative flow and the shop floor. What is the that, of course, the administrative flow could get more information about what is happening there in the production lines, what are the quality of the products, yeah? Real-time information. But what that brings as well, thousands of sensors or another machines that are connected to the internet as well brought some security threats because there are more points where hackers can access, and there is a danger. It's not just for information theft, because this is an industrial environment, yeah? And there are operators there and people that work in the facilities. And as well, there are communities surrounded that kind of factories, yeah? There is a big problem in terms for these companies, yeah? Because this all connectivity or this convergence between IT and the OT world is bringing this kind of dangers, because now it's not just, as I mentioned before, information theft, yeah? It's more like how this kind of equipment could be a harm for those operators, or as well for all this intellectual property that could be lost because the hacker learn about what is happening there. For example, a food and beverage company that have secret recipes. What will happen if a hacker could hack that information? Yeah? It's something that we need to be aware about that. As well, in the last year, in 2024, ransomware and malware were the most common attacks in all the industry. But the most common sectors were infrastructure, food and beverage, manufacturing, yeah? According to one of the last reports for one of our partners.
Okay, thanks, Johan. The next question I have, just as a follow-up, is now when does security threaten safety? And we know safety is very important for us, NHP, for our customers as well. So who wants to take that one?
Great question, something to highlight. Personally, I believe security and safety go hand in hand with each other. You can never be safe if you're not secure, guys. And to give some examples, I believe any machine that's been breached without consent, especially those with safety systems implemented into them, they can have major cascading safety consequences to personnel, industries, plant floors, the lot. Further to that, a compromised safety system can create conditions in which people may be in danger, plant floors, systems, products, machinery, all will be in danger. And if a safety system doesn't implement itself, it doesn't stop a machine operating if it was supposed to, when it reaches a dangerous state, or if a safety device is triggered, then that will have a cascading effect onto people, equipment, machines, etc. So safety systems that aren't stopping beyond certain operating conditions are not only exposing employees and people to danger, but the entire plant to risks such as fires, chemical leaks, explosions, damage to assets, etc. So that's key examples of why security of your safety system is just as important as your safety system.
Sounds very important.
Definitely is. Risks can be grouped, so some industries may be a higher risk than others. To give some examples, we may have some customers on this call today. So these risks and securities should be more focused on key high risk industries where employees are working with hazardous or volatile materials, such as chemical manufacturing, for example. These risks are only growing in the industry. So I believe as the world digitalizes, modernizes, machinery, humans, automated products, robotics, we're all working together more as we progress in time. And with humans and robots working side by side on production lines even more than they were in the past, I think it makes the security of your safety just as important than it ever has been.
Excellent. Thanks, Kasim. Jack, do you want to finish off on this one?
Yeah, I think secondary to what Kasim's just mentioned, we forget sometimes about the effect that that has on consumers. So it's one thing for the company or the product itself to be affected, but then if that product is then put out into the world, how does it affect the consumer? So if we consider a medication of some sort that someone's dependent on for their livelihood, if that ingredient has been altered or something's happened to that process that could affect how that is impacting someone's life, that could be a worst case scenario. Someone could result in a death. And then on the lighter side, just our general food and bev, if something's altered and someone becomes just sick, again, it can be lifelong effects, but at the same time, it's just considering the impacts of what that means to people and consumers out in the world.
So that's the cascading effect you were talking about. So it's not just the immediate vicinity of your operations, it's further down the supply chain, value chain that could have some
how your reputation could be affected as a brand as well,
of
as
course,
a company.
yeah. Okay, thanks guys. So we'll move on to the next question. Now let's bring in some real world examples. Johan, I'd like to start with you. You've been doing some research. Do you have some Australian examples?
Some information from Gartner as well, some of our partners, Rowell Automation. As I mentioned before, the ransomware and malware attacks are the most common threats. That has been worried many business executives, including IT managers, production managers, and plant managers. For example, I'm gonna give some example there in food and beverage and infrastructure. Just to take one example for large meat processor that hit plants in US, Canada, and here in Australia. The hackers encrypted the company system data and as well all the OT systems, and then they demanded a multi-million ransom to restore the access. Meaning that the company and all the operators, they don't have access to that information and as well to the system. The company paid billion dollars.
Sorry, 11 billion.
Billion.
With a B.
With a B.
Wow.
That is a good one because how much those Russian hackers that hacked Medibank, the ransom that they demanded was $10 billion, just for information. And this was just to getting access again to all the control systems for that multinational. Following that, after the company paid those $11 billion, 40 more attacks were in the food and beverage industry. It means that there are attackers that focus in the industry because they learn that these companies most paid because they enter and control all the system, and they say, we are going just to request this random. If no, I'm not going to get you access to your information. Another example in the infrastructure was here in Australia, and this is more concerning because that was for an ex-employee from that company. Because what happened with the employees? They know the processes. They know what are the controls or the systems that are in place. And even though sometimes they program them, they have better access to that. And this person just in that critical infrastructure, I say, water and wastewater, just hack the systems and caused 800,000 liters of raw sewage to spill in a local parks and rivers. Imagine if that happened again, or as what happened even with our families, because we are the consumers It's the environment as well that will be affected. Yeah. Another example that I want to bring this note here in Australia, but happened in US, was the Colonial Pipeline attack. Yeah, that was very sound.
It was
around
well
all-
documented.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
well
in the
documented
news. Yeah.
around all the world. But that showed the ability of these attackers to breach the OT systems, yeah, as well the catastrophic impact in the communities, yeah, because a lot of people depend on the energy source of these kind of factories, yeah. That is more how now the attackers or the hackers have been impacted the entire communities, yeah. Even the nation, yeah, US were impacted by that.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I think we're in a time right now where everyone can relate to those cyber attacks. I think people on a domestic level, we've all seen the news over the last 18 months. We've got a lot of onshore companies that have been held to ransom, and I'd be shocked if anyone doesn't know someone or even personally has been affected by how vulnerable we are as a society. So I think hearing those larger scale examples of extreme situations is one thing, but I think there's one thing everyone can relate to personally now. It's we actually are at risk, and we do need to be thinking about how we protect our information. So.
Completely agree, Jack, and I think that's a reflection of the world digitalizing.
Yeah.
You know, the digital journey, the uptake, modernization. You know, people with malicious intent are now looking at other ways to disrupt, you know, the industry
Operations.
or operations and just target individuals.
Thanks, guys. Unfortunately, yeah, these cyber attacks are not news anymore because they're happening so frequently and it's just large scales. Now, last week I was at OSMine, a mining event, and I got to meet a lot of people from mining and the entire ecosystem around the mining industry. And thankfully, the mining industry has been focused on cybersecurity and security measures in general for many years. So I do feel like they are at the forefront, and they've got some really rock solid mechanisms and principles in place to protect their assets and operations. And I think we can learn a lot from what the mining industry has been doing.
It means that that is a priority now for many industries. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because they have been hearing what is happening now. This is not just for commercial entities or commercial companies. It's now affecting the industrial sector.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Now, I mean, it might be an obvious question to ask. Why are cyber attackers trying to weaponize the operational technology environment?
Let me take that one.
Thanks.
Okay, why? Because the control system or the hardware and software that monitors all the equipment in the shop floor, assets, processes have become more important for them because they know that these companies are willing to pay, yeah? And as well, they have been evolving because before they say, okay, the hackers enter and control just one part of the factory or just one production line or one machine. Now they are shooting down the entire factory, yeah? And as well, that is putting in risk more the integrity of all the industrial environment with the intent to create physical harm, yeah? But more than that, we need to think about what are the motivation of these attackers. According to Gartner, the documents that I read, security incidents in the OT as well the cyber physical system have three main motivations. First, actual harm, as I mentioned you, yeah, commercial vandalism, because they could reduce the output of the company, and reputational vandalism, making the manufacturer untrust and unreliable. Yeah, Gartner as well predicts that for this year, the losses on all these attacks could result in $50 billion around the world. Yeah, and even without taking the value, because human life, of course, there are another things that the company needs to start thinking, because behind after that an attack, there are costs for the organizations in terms of compensations, yeah, litigation, insurance, regulatory fines, reputations. The losses will be significant for that company. It's not just, okay, I lost information, I lose the productivity for these 2 weeks while I was in the negotiations with the hackers, but it's more how that will be affected for the insurances and all. But from my point of view, IT managers, operational risk assessment and security managers should be more concerned about the real world hazards to humans and the environment, rather than just information stolen or because that is more putting in danger the people that work in the factory and the community that surround that factory. But I have some questions for the audience. Yeah, it's like, do you have a continuous OT threat monitoring in place? Has your organization been attacked in the last year? Do you have a full visibility across your OT infrastructure? I would like you are thinking in this kind of question while we are just discussing these topics.
Okay, thanks, Johan. Yeah, valid questions. Now, what are the key risks types where security issues can result in safety implications? So we're looking at the type of risks that exist out there that could come from security issues.
Great question.
Yeah.
And I feel like, guys, we have focused on malicious intent attacks. And this is one for our customers, the audience listening in today to focus on as well. Attacks can be simply errors. It can be an attack without a malicious intent. So security risks don't always originate from malicious intent. So let's divert to non-malicious intents, which could be something as simple as employee errors. That's something everyone should be aware of, looking after your employees on site. We're humans, we can make mistakes. In fact, one of the most common security risks come from innocent mistakes, surprisingly. And that could include employees or contractors who, without being aware, make a network misconnection, something as simple as that. Download a wrong program to a controller. I'm sure we've all done that at some point in our lives. As well as plug an infected device into the system. So simple steps like these could be a non-malicious security threat, but it still needs to be addressed. And if it's not addressed and these factors are not taken into consideration, then you could have major consequences, and it could lead your systems to operate beyond safety parameters.
Okay.
So those, I just wanted to highlight non-malicious intent, security threats. We will go back onto employees, but now we will go to malicious intent. So, upset, disgruntled ex-employees could be another security threat, guys.
The example that I mentioned before.
Yep. So that's another one to keep a thought of. Current or former employees familiar with your organization's control system can easily, represent a security threat, a safety threat, because they're across your industrial network. Now, we focused on employees, so simple mistakes, disgruntled employees. Now, we'll move over to more, planned out malicious intents, adding on to Johan's examples, cyber terrorism.
Think of when we threats.
Yes.
After the Ukraine war,
Yeah.
that is much common. That has been increasing at 600%
Yeah.
after COVID and then presiding the Ukraine war. That is one of the things that have been increasing a
Yeah,
lot.
carry on.
So, as mentioned, the world's digitalizing. I think COVID ramped that up in the past 2-3 years. Everyone was focused on modernizing and digitalizing every aspect of their lives. So, cyber terrorism, even people with malicious, harmful intent had to look at new ways to harm people. Cause issues, cause negative impacts to their lives. So malicious acts could seek to disrupt or infect, cripple your critical infrastructure. Potential targets could be nuclear plants, water supplies, oil refineries, crucial industries that
The critical infrastructure that we
critical
can think of.
infrastructure that the day-to-day person needs.
Yeah.
To give you an example, hackers attempted to grab control of a small dam in New York City. You guys can research.
When was this? Sorry.
online.
Do you remember when was this one?
This was actually pretty recent.
Okay.
Recent.
Yeah.
For a low-lying city as New York City, that's not too high above sea level.
Correct.
Taking control of a small dam in the middle location of a city like that could be disastrous. And thankfully, though, guys, they scheduled maintenance for that day, so everything was offline.
Okay. Well.
Crazy.
Crazy,
Almost makes you think like it's a movie. Someone in there, Bruce Willis or Arnold Schwarzenegger's going to save the day. But yeah, it's crazy how when you give that example, and I think of why people would do that, and something as simple as political or financial motivations can inspire people to do these type of things. So we all think of the financial fraudulent activities that people are going to go out and try to capture information, hold people ransom, just so they can pressure a government and pressure political parties to make certain decisions. So something else, corporate espionage, similar sort of story. So sometimes people and hackers might want to hold people ransom so they can hold a government and justice officials to threat thousands of companies and people involving people's lives. So a lot of different people are being targeted, which is causing national security threats.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, very detailed and good examples. The one thing I definitely want to touch on is it's also a matter of compliance. So looking after security within your organizations, there are some compliance matters that we have to kind of adhere to. So can we just touch on that?
Yeah, I can jump in again, Nadash.
Thanks.
So, so some of the requirements that are in the safety standards, something that would be in, say, IEC 61508. I'm going to reference section 7.4. So it directs companies to conduct security threat analysis if their hazard analysis identifies reasonably foreseeable malevolent or unauthorised actions. So, when we think about safety, machine safety, people are under threat, but what happens to that threat, even though it's been mitigated, if a hacker comes in and tries to actually alter that program, alter that process? Another standard I'll reference out of the IEC 61511, which is a second edition. So it also requires that security risk assessments be conducted for safety instrumented systems. So your safety instrumented system design, it also must deliver the necessary resilience against identified security risks. So yeah, these requirements, they're not elaborate, but they do provide some formal compliance and guidelines for addressing these concerns.
Okay, and just to clarify, these are your machine safety standards, functional safety.
Correct.
Right? They're all part of, security is now part of that standard now.
Correct.
Something important to know. Yeah.
So when we say IEC, that is a functional safety standard. So.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Jack. Now, safety and security, I mean, they've been traditionally viewed as separate entities. They've generally been separate. How can our customers integrate safety and security? And that's, I suppose, the core of our conversation and why we're having this discussion today. So who wants to start?
Let me start. Safety and security have traditionally been viewed as a separate entities, but there are common approaches between them in how they analyze and mitigate risks, because both of them start from the analyzing and mitigating those risks that they found, But in both cases, policies and procedures are built based on business practices, risk management approaches, applications requirements, and industry standards. But as well, in your space, Jack, this access control is common, between in safety and security. Always they start with how is the access control for the operator or people that can go inside that automation infrastructure. Also, safety and security, what is the goal of them? Is looking for protect assets, people, that is the most important, processes, equipment, and intellectual property.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah. Look, to answer your question, how can our customers integrate safety and security, Adash? I believe culture is a main factor. So, we go home at night, we lock our doors. Why? Because we want our family to be secure. So if you take that approach in your industry, in your organization, culture is a driving factor, I believe, that should be adjusted to protecting your security for your plant floor, your organization, your network, your architecture. So it's not just protecting intellectual property that should be a focus, or your processes or physical assets for a company. Security must be taken as a core value, as well as all these other, factors. So we take out insurance on a building just to be secure in case something happens. So with the ramp up in cyber threats, I feel like it should almost be a natural instinct to change your culture and your mindset to put in safety systems in place, and they should be secured. So I believe more collaboration between the EH&S team, which is Environmental Health and Safety team, in an operation.
OH&S, I mean, that's also safety related, but now I think we should integrate security.
Exactly.
As,
so I believe they should work hand in hand with the IT team, operations team, basically just to shift that culture and mindset, and not just secure your building or get insurance on your organization, but to put in other steps before the need to,
Yeah. A good point.
make
Good
a
point.
claim on anything. So, for example, I believe all these teams should be working hand in hand together to develop and co-manage objectives for safety and security. Identify your critical safety data requirements on the plant floor and systems, because strong safety culture involves every employee company-wide. Hence, the cross-departmental, shift in culture is required, I believe, company-wide. And just general understanding of the threats to your team, your employees, specifically our customers, just to understand what could or couldn't happen, shift that culture and mindset. As I mentioned, we lock the doors when we go home at night. If we didn't, we know the threats. So why are we not securing our safety systems when they're there to protect us in the first place? So to answer your question, culture, I believe, needs a revamp and shift in mindset. Next is compliance, as Jack mentioned. So I'm sure most of our customers and everyone wants to comply to standards, industries, local laws, etc. So compliance efforts should meet security requirements and safety standards. Jack just mentioned some safety standards for us. For example, the IEC 61508. We have 61511. So these are some new standards coming out to the industry from a compliance standpoint, just to enforce, more.
Just give us some guidance,
security.
basically.
Exactly. So first was culture. Next is to comply to standards. That change needs to be implemented. Next, a company, I believe, should be looking at solutions, products with built-in security features. So
Technology.
exactly. So we buy a car that can lock its doors, so it's secure. We should buy products that have safety systems in place that can be secured. So I believe culture, compliance, and products our customers are investing in should implement built-in security features to help secure your safety processes.
Okay. Thanks, Kasim. Very well said. Jack, did you have anything to add to that one?
Look, I think Kasim covered it really well. Just touching on those three main points with your culture, your compliance, and then also your capital. Those three things, when I break them down, it's the people, and then it's the people abiding by a certain compliance, and then working in with the certain infrastructure and the certain components that are on site. So I think, where does it all start? I really like the way you started. Culture. So it's all about the people and the way they're interacting with all these machines. So yeah, I think you really covered it well.
All right. Thanks, guys. The other thing I want to touch on is, companies should be implementing a company-wide, risk management strategies, just like we mentioned this before in a few topics. And how do we put those risk management strategies in place to manage security threats and vulnerabilities, as well as potential implications to safety? How do we manage those two things together in tandem? And what do we offer from NHP's point of view as well?
Yeah.
Who wants to jump in?
It's a great question. So I'll jump in, Dash, and you're right. And we've been speaking about the differences and how we need to stop thinking about security and safety as different concerns. So I'll talk firstly about safety. Machine safety is what I would focus on. So we've all got machines. End user sites have got a lot of operations, automated systems. We conduct risk assessments. So where do we actually start? We want to do an assessment of what that machine looks like, how people are interacting with that machine, how it's maintained, how it's cleaned, and then we conduct an assessment and work through how we mitigate those risks so that the users are going to be as safe as possible. So machine safety risk assessments are something that NHP offers as a service, but when you say where do customers start, how do you know what to do? It's all got to start with an assessment of your existing machinery, the functions, and how you're interacting and using that machine, so that you can safely put a plan in place, and then also design a network that's going to mitigate as many risks as possible to those users.
Thanks, well said. That's the starting point, isn't it?
Okay.
Sorry, Johan, go ahead.
From the point of view of the security risk assessment, I know that many operational maintenance plant managers in this OT spectrum might have the same question. Okay, you told about the risks. We know there are some threats. There are some examples in the food and beverage, infrastructure, and other kind of industries. But where to begin? Is the main question. Where I need to begin? The, everything starts is like you can't defend what you can't see. Industrial factories need a broad visibility into the entire environment, and that starts with a detailed asset inventory. Yeah, many times organizations are unaware about the number of managed and unmanaged internet network connected devices that are in their facilities. To achieve a complete asset visibility, organizations need to understand those gaps and risks by gaining complete visibility about what they have installed there, what equipment are connected to the environment. But the most important are how those equipments or devices that are there, what is the context, what are the applications. If a hacker enter and control that controller or that drive, what is the context of the application? What situation could be harmful of safety risks as well? Yeah, and you could ask, okay, how NHP could help us in this way? We offer a complete solutions in terms of cybersecurity services. Yeah, but we work closely with regular automation and Clarity to provide a comprehensive cybersecurity solutions beyond not just network security. We protect the integrity and availability of your complex automation system. We have this framework that you can see here in the PowerPoint that is, we help you to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, because we know that every customer is different. Every customer is different, yeah? And we can go and there start offering just products, and you need to replace all these your legacy systems. We need to understand your application. We need to talk with your people. We need to understand how are your processes, yeah? What is your goals? What are the priorities that you need to take in place as well, yeah? And we offer these systems, this kind of solution and system.
So thanks, guys. So first step, of course, from our customers is assessment, safety assessment, and security assessment. That's the first step. So the next question, obviously, is what are some safety and security solutions that we offer? Who wants to take this one?
I'm happy to answer that one for you, Dash. Currently, NHP offer a lot of solutions to the market, a lot of products in the mix. You mentioned safety and security solutions to the market, to our customers. So before we get to that, let's take a step back and let's talk about safety and security a bit further. Let's add SIP to the conversation, which is Common Industrial Protocol. So talking about SIP safety, SIP security, they're both extensions to, as I just mentioned, the Common Industrial Protocol, which abbreviates to SIP. These are application layer protocols for Ethernet IP. So these allow high integrity safety and services, diagnostics without requiring special communication hardware. So it's all on the Ethernet IP layer. So that's leveraging existing communications already implemented. The infrastructure is already there, which has been implemented. And in a nutshell, it's reducing lifecycle costs to end users, customers, procurement companies out there. So the benefit of having safety and security over Ethernet is, as I mentioned, not requiring any further special communications hardware. So now let's move the focus to safety a bit. So safety, network safety, safety over Ethernet. We hear these terminologies a lot. So what's that allowed us to do? So many things, flexibility being one of them.
The smart and smart safety.
Exactly. So smart and smart safety. It's allowed us to be very flexible, productive. It's allowed very advanced techniques in protecting personnel on site, and it's also simplified the floor. So it's allowing us to do more, but at the same time, it's simplifying our architecture as well. So, in the past, we would be wiring a lot of external devices, typically used in hardwired safety applications. So to give you an example, a safety monitoring relay wired to each device, and that would have very fixed functionality. So once again, you lose the flexibility with hardwired safety solutions. They're very fixed in what they can and can't do. And another benefit of moving to a networked integrated safety solution is being flexible, less wiring, less products, with the advantage of being more flexible at the same time. So hardwired safety solutions though, Adash, they're still very effective in simple applications. So I don't want to rule that out completely. However, as we mentioned before, the world is digitalizing, modernizing. A lot of the products on the plant floor are more integrated together. That's when, as the system grows to include more I/O, wiring, it can become more expensive to have a hardwired safety solution with all the external and excess products required. It can be expensive, difficult to troubleshoot, and very to no diagnostics available. You know, you got to troubleshoot and pinpoint, find errors. So no diagnostics, difficult to troubleshoot, expensive with more products, being a hardwired solution. So as more functionality is added, more products are added, the architecture is more interconnected and integrated over a network, it makes sense to go for a safety over Ethernet solution. Otherwise, you may require heavy time and investment in rewiring systems once you keep adding more automated systems together.
Labor costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So labor costs, you know, wiring, just diagnostics, you know, troubleshooting, and anytime you add a new system onto your existing system, it may require full rewire, just a safety system. So that's when network safety is a great solution in this regard, and allows us to increase productivity, which is, you know, a number one key element everyone's looking for nowadays. Every organization is looking for, you know, an effective way to be more productive. So being on a network safety device, you can be more productive, efficient, and these, in a nutshell, we achieve this by having both our safety and command signals all through a single Ethernet cable. So once again, allowing us to have design flexibility as well as being more productive. So further to add to this, so that's the safety element. Now with the power of a PLC, Mr. Johan, with the power of a PLC, we now have zoning possible as well. So we can be more smart with the safety systems we're implementing. So it goes back to flexibility as well, design flexibility. We're more flexible with the power of the PLC. As mentioned, zoning is possible, where traditionally a plant floor may have to fully shut down for any safety, for any servicing, or, you know, adding a new line, etc. You would shut down a whole plant floor in the event of a safety incident as well. However, with the ability of a PLC, we can now only shut down sections of a plant floor. Yeah. So you're zoning your machines to not, you know, shut down your whole system and stop any manufacturing, for example. So you can still be productive whilst still, you know, servicing your machines. Or if there's a safety incident, it will shut down the affected zone, however still operate, you know, continuously on other sections. So many benefits of being over Ethernet, integrated architecture, working with a PLC. It's a great solution for, you know, commissioning a new line for machine builders, for example. It's the best solution to not disrupt your plant floor. Further benefits is not just shutting down the machine, but if something is technically wrong, diagnostics. So we have Rockwell have a great focus on predictive analytics and diagnostics currently, with a lot of their new products coming out to market as well. So having that diagnostic feedback over Ethernet is great, fast. You know, you can predict a failure or some, you know, schedule a service interval beforehand, basically. So diagnostics is another great one. To give you an example, safety being used with machinery in event of an emergency, so network safety that is, it's typically not practical to go and disconnect a motor for a drive on a plant floor. You know, in the industry, that's typically not the solution for if you want to stop rotating the motor. You can't physically go each time and disconnect the motor from the drive. So what's the solution there? Safe Torque Off is a great safety feature. Now that can be hardwired or networked. Let's talk about the network solution because we already highlighted the benefits of being over a network. So network Safe Torque Off, guys. Our customers, this can be a great, safety system as well as, a feature to have the ability to use. And what does that do? It helps prevent unexpected motor rotation, guys. It can't generate any torque whilst it's in Safe Torque Off. So if that's been triggered, torque from the drive will not be going to the motor. So it'll basically prevent any unexpected motor rotation in both the event of an emergency. So if there's been a safety trigger or the machine's reached an operating condition that's unsafe, it'll stop rotating whilst the drive is still connected to the motor. So there's no physical disconnections happening there. There's no personnel at risk, etc. So that allows for easier maintenance, cleaning, or mechanical adjustments without any risks, basically. So key feature to have there, and one the industry is really taking a good uptake on as well. So we've talked about the crucial importance of safety to people. With safety commands and functions being over Ethernet, the focus then shifts to the security of those commands. So you have all the safety systems in place and it's shutting off motors and it's doing this, but how do you keep that secure? How do you know it's going to do its job when it matters? How do you know no one can interfere in that command? Both safety and command signals going over through one Ethernet cable. How do you keep all that data transferring between two products safe? Well, to keep it safe, it needs to be secure. You've got to lock your doors at night, guys. You've got to lock your doors. So that's where SIP security comes into this, guys. SIP security will incorporate data integrity and confidentiality into the Ethernet IP communications. Working together, devices that incorporate SIP safety and SIP security can help protect against data corruption and malicious attacks on your safety system. So you're protecting your people and you're now protecting your data that's protecting your people.
Perfect.
So in a nutshell, as I mentioned earlier, Adash, I feel like both of these go hand in hand together. You're not safe if you're not secure. Now, I just wanted to now mention, guys, I gave an example of Rockwell Automation. They're headed in a direction of security, safety, analytics, data. So they well integrated solutions covering many aspects that can happen. I would like to showcase some new products that we have here as well. These are part of Rockwell's low voltage variable speed drive families. The first one here is a PowerFlex 755TS. Now these from factory are enabled with SIP security and SIP safety, and it's the first Rockwell PowerFlex drive to be SIP security enabled. Now, as mentioned, that is the pathway Rockwell are trying to take on with all their new product developments and product introductions. Similarly, in our compact range, we have a brand new Armor PowerFlex. Now, this is Rockwell's decentralized solution. So it is an on-machine drive, and it is called the all-new Armor PowerFlex. Now, this is a very robust design, robust product. It's made for harsh environments and conditions, and it is a compact one unit design to cover many applications. With I/O on board, safety integrated into the drive. You've got quick connections for ease setup. Once again, also enabled with SIP security from factory as standard. So in our low voltage range of variable speed drives, two new products, both incorporating SIP security and SIP safety. Just moving on to some other products in the motion range for Rockwell, we have Kinetics, so our servo drives in the motion portfolio. Both the Kinetics 5700 and 5300 also come with SIP security as standard. So I envision SIP security is going to keep developing, and most and majority new products coming out of Rockwell will be enabled with these features.
That's perfect. I mean, we've been aware of the controllers having all these smart features for a while now, so it's great to see all these other devices that are part of the connected enterprise also showing those key features. Anyone else want to jump in? Jack?
Yeah, I think while Kasim was talking, it just makes me realise that I'd love to take everyone and just showcase what those products look like integrated onto a machine. So we actually, by chance, have a demonstration here called our Smart Safety Hypercube. So I'll just walk around just to give everyone a bit of a feel. So this is in our Richmond head office where any customer or any person can come and do training and see what the latest technology looks like for Rockwell. So looking at this particular application, we've got a SIP safety network wired in with those SIP safety devices. So this is the first one in our DLR network. It's called a multifunction access box. Access clearly to for a full person through a door. If you look down the bottom, you can see the two teal cables. So that's our Ethernet connection point just coming in and out. To give you an example and refer back to Kasim's highlighted feature being a hardwired opposite end of the spectrum example, you'd have 20 cables coming out of this device in comparison to now just having a singular Ethernet cable coming in and coming out. So if you actually want to come forward a little bit for me, you'll be able to see on our ASIM industrial computer here just what that network structure looks like. So we can see here that's our multifunction access box, and then again it continues through to a light curtain SIP safety system, as well as a laser scanner, and then back through another relay and into our safety controller. So what I'll do is I might call Johan in, because going into the controller, this is his area of expertise, and I think it's worth highlighting what that SIP security layer looks like once we're back in the controller to protect that SIP safety network itself. So
Thanks, Jack. Devices which incorporate SIP safety and SIP security can help to protect against data corruption and malicious attacks on safety systems, as Kasim explained us. Our portfolio of control logics and guard logics version 34 and compact logics, guard logics controllers have a native SIP security and SIP safety. Other versions can be secured through the module 1756 EM4TR. But some people could ask, okay, those are the new versions. How I could protect my legacy systems? Do I need to invest in new controllers? I need to replace all the controllers that I have just to be safe and be secure about this kind of problem that we have been discussed through this webinar? No, we have solutions that could help you to we can help you to secure legacy field device communication through the SIP security proxy. This is a module that enables field devices without native support SIP security to help to protect them, these products and data being transmitted over the Ethernet IP. This is something that you don't need to reinvest, maybe have a big budget, because you need to replace all the current devices that you have installed in your factory. On the other hand, we can use virtual LANs and layer 2, layer 3 strategy switches hierarchy that can create a functional subzones that you mentioned, how we can create these subzones to establish a smaller domains of trust and simplify security policy enforcement. On the other hand, if we imply, okay, what software do you have? What software solution do we have? We have the factory tool policy manager that will help us to create segmentations, generate policy definition, and asset assignments. Yeah? As I mentioned you before, okay, these are the products that we have been discussing. But before talking about products, we prefer to learn from your infrastructure. We prefer to go and how you process, what is the knowledge of your people, of your operators, and from there advise you to the correct pathway. That is the way, because we can go there and you need to replace these products to accomplish with the norms that the certification we already discussed. We need to learn from what are the point A where you are located, and then just fix and or create this scope for the point B, and start doing all this cybersecurity and risk assessment safety framework that we explained before.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Johan. I mean, great answers by everyone, and thanks for showing us all these products. And always good to see what the next gen products look like and what key features they have in supporting our conversation today. So great work. Thanks, everyone. I suppose we're coming to the end of our conversation and discussion today on this topic. But my final question, a bit of a summary, I suppose, for the audience and all of us here. In order to prevent safety risks linked to security threats, what risk mitigation measures could we implement? Jack, you want to start?
Yeah, great question. I think I loved Kasim's example earlier about we all own a car. We don't leave it unlocked on night though. So how do we lock up that asset? So I used an RFID card to access our office building today. So sites are using technology such as RFID so that not only can they log who's actually accessing a particular facility, but you can also give unique access to certain people who have got the who are allowed to access those areas. So it's not as simple as just having a particular padlock with a certain key that someone sits on their chain belt. It's actually about now using those RFID technologies so that certain users can access. So yeah, the physical access is definitely one point.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
That's
Yeah,
great,
Kasim,
yeah.
go ahead.
I would like to mention, as I highlighted earlier, Dash, with these two new products, you know, investing in products with built-in security should be a focus for many industry and our customers moving forward. So we do have the option of a proxy, such as Johan mentioned, for any legacy products to implement security into their system. However, moving forward, safety systems and other hardware should include built-in security features, such as the all-new PowerFlex 755TS and the on-machine Armor PowerFlex, just to give a couple examples. So, moving over to some controllers, a safety controller that uses keyed software can ensure the firmware is only downloadable from a trusted source, while an access door can restrict physical access to the controller. An industrial managed switch with access control lists also can be sure that only authorized devices and users and traffic are accessing that network. All right, and to add to that, let's move to the software side of things, guys. So asset and change management. So, you know, asset management software can be utilized in this space. So what that can help our customers is that the software can automate the discovery of new assets. It can centrally track and manage configuration changes across the entire facility. So, you know, any unnecessary or not required or not intended changes can be highlighted and not missed. That is including safety systems. It can detect malicious changes in real time, log those activities and report them back to a key personnel. So it's always going back to someone being alerted this change has happened. It could be malicious, it could be an accident, but it goes back to the key personnel and it logs those activities. If unwanted changes are made, the software can access archived copies of the device program and recover it. So, for example, if it's malicious or non-malicious, if a change is made that was unwanted, the archived copies can kick in and the device program can go through a fast recovery process and, you know, implement back to where it was.
Thanks, Kasim. Yeah, and that's the asset center software that we have from Rockwell that can do all these things. So yeah, a very, very important point.
Very powerful tool.
Yep. Johan, yes.
From my point of view, and thanks, Kasim, the most important in terms of security is the segmentation into zones, because the OT network can be related just to the IT network, or that someone can go through easily and move to the OT network. The segmentation into zone is the core of the security and is the best practice. It should be used in every plan as a part of the holistic defense in-depth security approach to help to limit those access from people that want to move from the IT zone to the OT zone or to the safety systems. An industrial demilitarized zone, or IDMZ, with firewalls, data brokers, can securely segment the plant-wide network from the enterprise network. That is the most important here. Also using, as I mentioned before, with all the strategic system, using virtual LANs and VLANs, as well as this hierarchy of the different solutions that we have with the unmanageable solution. We can establish these zones to create smaller domains and prohibit that to those hackers to control other parts of the production line. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Johan. And to be fair, I think that's kind of bringing us to the end of our conversation today. So thank you all for your contributions in today's discussion. One of the key takeaways from my end is, as fast as digital transformation is taking place in the industry, I think safety and security should be evolving just as fast. Kasim, and you mentioned that actually earlier as well. So we will now actually move to the Q&A part of this webinar, and let's have a look at what questions that we have from the audience. So one of the questions that came a bit earlier is, how can we find out which products are compatible with SIP safety and SIP security? Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, sure, I can have a crack at that one, Adash. So we'll drop a link in the chat for you guys so you can all access this. In a simple way, just click this link. It is a Rockwell resource online, which if you scroll down to the bottom, it'll show you all the latest and greatest Rockwell products that are both SIP safety and SIP security enabled as standard. So as Johan earlier mentioned, we do have a proxy SIP security device which can be used for legacy products. But for any new investments into the future, looking at new products available to the market, please use this useful link that we will drop in the chat for you guys.
Yep, thanks, Kazim. Now, another question that we have is SIP a Rockwell-only protocol?
Great question.
Yeah.
Answer, no. So the Common Industrial Protocol is actually managed and maintained by ODVA. So they are an independent body that any supplier can utilise to integrate their products into that network. So answer, no, it is used across multiple suppliers, and Rockwell utilises that SIP safety, SIP security, SIP motion access.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Okay, next question. Is SIP security compatible with non-Rockwell products?
I'm going to answer that not at all. Yeah, but for that kind of solution that we need equipment that are not compatible with SIP security, we can use our SIP proxy solution just to connect all those legacy systems that are not native SIP security. And this is a good solution that helps us to save budget, yeah, because as I mentioned before, it's difficult to say to the customer or to you as a maintenance manager I want to create this kind of a secure environment, but I have this legacy system, and you don't need to replace all the controllers as we mentioned before, or as well start replacing all your different devices that are connected to the web. You can just use this SIP proxy system that could help you to connect and have this SIP security compatible.
Okay, thanks, Johan, and thanks everyone for staying back for the Q&A section. I appreciate we're running a bit low on time. So I think we'll probably end it here. There's definitely more questions in the chat. What we'll do is after this webinar is done, we'll answer those questions and send out the answers and responses to all the attendees. So thank you all for joining. Hope you got something out of this discussion today. And if you'd like to find more information on the safety and security offerings from NHP, from risk assessments to the products and services that we offer, please reach out to your local NHP rep and we'll be happy to answer any questions from then on. Thank you very much and thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
guys.